Falcons are actually relieved that he's kind of not there to create more of a distraction. Look, I mean, I said it the day it happened. It was one of the stupider decisions I've ever seen by a professional NFL franchise to sign a quarterback to a $180 million contract and then draft his replacement exactly 5 weeks later. This was a terrible organizational decision by the Falcons. Now, they're going to spin this, and this is what's annoying about the Falcons and their PR staff. They're going to spin this as if this is the plan we had all along. This is the plan that when, Kirk Cousins either got hurt or didn't play well or got too old, we were going to have Penix come in. And guess what? The new plan is now we're going to keep Kirk Cousins as a backup. So if Michael Penix gets hurt, we told you so. We were right for keeping him on the roster. We were smart for keeping him here. No, this whole thing has been an abject disaster.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that rim. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of 18.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The Steelers' interested in Aaron Rodgers as a joke. Your boy went off about the entire situation and why it taken so long to forget him. Terry Bradshaw getting involved.
Yeah, and saying basically, what are you bringing him in for 1 year? All of this drama for 1 year at this guy, where he is now in his career is he's washed.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only.
Another Sunday on the SportsGrid Network. You know what it's time for. Pro Baseball Today. Weekly right here on a Sunday, 10 a.m. Eastern. It's how we get down. It's Donnie Right Side. It's Tom Vecchio, and you know the drill. It's 2 hours. It's every single game on the card and all the latest hot topics you need to get you through not only today's action, but into next week. It's what we do. The summer months feel like they're here, Tom Vecchio. The warmer weather is in the air. And right away, we got a baseball game around the noon hour. So we got business to get to today, as usual.
Yeah, an early start for a game today. We cap it off on Sunday night with the classic rivalry, Yankees versus Red Sox. We got some news to get to, some injury updates. Things across the league are finally settling in terms of the weather and the stats that we can be looking at for both, hitters and pitchers. We're at that point. There's been a lot of rain over the past few days, especially in the Northeast, but we're looking at a good week coming up. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, good week in the eyes of the beholder. Good week for my Philadelphia Phillies? No, it's not been. I mean, my goodness, we will get to that in just a few moments here. But also, we're going to start with some injury information. Let me ask you this, Tom. Did you play baseball growing up, like Little League, high school, anything? Okay, so we have a good. There we go. So injuries in baseball are interesting, right? Sometimes you get a hit at the plate here, maybe you slide into second base, maybe you're in the outfield, you hurt yourself pulling a hamstring. Did you see, by the way, Ryan Weathers, how he got injured yesterday with the catcher throwing to second base and drilled him in his head? Did you see that?
Yeah, I often say, and I've said this to you on many shows, I've said baseball's a weird sport and weird stuff happens. That's just true. And that just comes from playing the game. The injuries that we see, especially with Weathers yesterday, who's on my fantasy team, absolutely bizarre.
It was bizarre. And by the way, the reason I bring this up, too, is there are weird ways to get injured, because that's one that you're saying, you know what? Every year, a couple guys go down because their catcher hits them in the head with a baseball thrown down to second base. We don't see that often. But I remember when I was a freshman in high school, Tom, so the other team was warming up in the infield, and I noticed a baseball a little bit farther down the line behind the first baseman. So I left the area, behind the dugout, to go get that, and the third baseman overthrew the first baseman, and that ball hit me square in the jaw from the side where I didn't see it coming. Went down like a pound of rocks here. Everybody comes over, and the umpire is next to me. He's like, "Hey, kid, spit the sunflower seeds out in your mouth." So No, spit the sunflowers out. So I tried it again. I didn't have any sunflower seeds in my mouth. That's how big my jaw was already at that point here. So I've been hit by baseballs where you're not paying attention to that. Knocked me out of that game right away. left it. Needless to say, first inning, I didn't even get to the first inning at that point. But know what? It's tough seeing it happens in baseball. It's the way it is. But Tom, let's take a look at some other injuries across Major League Baseball, which includes my Philadelphia Phillies. And it's Bryce Harper. And I had an injury that I was worried about lagging from last year into this season. It was a wrist injury. Bryce Harper on the IL with that same wrist injury, and a worse time for the Philadelphia Phillies. It can't be. Bryce Harper injured to the IL at the worst case scenario, at the worst time in the Phillies season right now.
Yeah, so when he was hit with the elbow, what was it, over a week ago at this point, right? He's out for a couple games, and then he comes back. He's wearing a new elbow guard. Like I'm pretty sure he hit a home run in that first game back. But the fact that he was out for so many games had me a little bit worried. And it's like, listen, might as well just shut him down, put him on the IL now, let him get the rest. It's, at that point, we're talking about the end of May-ish. It's like, okay, we can deal with that but now he comes back, and does the elbow impact the wrist? That's why when I was there, like, is he overcompensating with the swing? Is he squeezing too hard because he still has the lagging or the nagging injury from the elbow, which then impacts the prior injury from the wrist from last year? Now he comes back, he's not himself. Now he has to go back on the IL, which sets him back a week and a half when he could have already been resting the entire time. So the offense has been struggling. The pitchers have taken a step back. It is a tough time in Philly right now.
The ebbs and flows of a Major League Baseball season, which we're going to get to the Atlanta Braves in just a little bit because their ebbs are way more than their flows at this point as well. But other injury news around here. How about the Guardians with Shane Bieber getting knocked down again? Going to miss a start, going to miss some time. Not good news here. Anytime you're dealing with pitching injuries, he just doesn't wind up as a positive, Tom, on the season.
Right, and this puts the Guardians in an even tougher spot because Bieber was on his way back. And in spring training, I read some reports that okay, he's on track. Maybe he comes back around the All-Star break. And you're thinking, okay, if you have a Cy Young candidate pitcher healthy for the second half of the season in a very tough AL Central, okay, he doesn't need to be 100%. He doesn't need to pitch a full season. But you give me half the year when it is crunch time, that puts the Guardians in a great spot. But he is shut down on his road to recovery. It's not looking great right now for the Guardians in a tough division.
No, it's not looking great. You know what's even worse, though? When you get your ace pitcher back on the mound, you sign him to a long-term deal, you're expecting him to excel, and what happens there? You go to the IL, which is an extended IL, which means Corbin Burns of the Arizona Diamondbacks, the ultimate shutdown, Tommy John surgery. What a devastating blow in the NL West for the Diamondbacks.
Big blow for them. This puts them out till next year's All-Star break if we just want to put 12 months on it, whatever it is. And man, their pitching staff has been struggling. As Brandon Pfaadt has been blown up in some of these recent starts. Zach Gallen is not himself. Merrill Kelly's doing fine, but fine in an extremely tough division, which we've talked about. The Dodgers, the Giants off to a hot start. Padres been a bit up and down, but it's not going to be any easier for the Diamondbacks going forward. I would like to say they need to make moves, but again, we've talked about this before. To what end? Like, making a move doesn't help them in that division. I think the season's done for them. I know it's a little bit early to say that, maybe a little bit dramatic, but I really think they are in an extremely tough spot at this point.
Yeah, you're supposed to be like, hey, we got, top of the lineup there, Corbin Burns, and you got right behind him, Zach Gallen. Zach Gallen struggling this year. Corbin Burns down for at least, as you say, till next All-Star break. Who knows if that's even longer. Devastating news, particularly to not a guy heading into free agency, a guy that you re-signed as a free agent to a monster money deal where you might not even live up to that for the first 18 to 24 months of that contract. That's a tough blow, certainly, to deal with here. Other pitching instances around Major League Baseball, a guy that's not used to just being in baseball for a cup of coffee. Craig Kimbrell's been around for a long time. Braves like, come on back. We need you. I guess we don't need you. Quick little coffee stint there for him. He's right out of there. DFA'd after just one game here, Tom.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of this. I really don't. And, the other day, the Braves go into the top of the ninth against the Diamondbacks in that day game on Thursday, I believe it was. They're up 6 runs heading into the top of the ninth, and they end up blowing that lead. The next day or later that day, they said, okay, we're going to call up Craig Kimbrell. They need some surefire pitcher when it comes to the back end of their bullpen. Then they head out west, they go to San Francisco, and then they pitch him, and then they immediately cut him. A lot of people saying this was a money thing, but then apparently his contract is prorated, so he's not even going to get the $2 million bonus, whatever it might be. I don't know what the Braves are doing. I really don't. There's just a giant question mark to me.
Yeah, the question with the Braves is what are they doing across their entire roster? They're not hitting, they're not pitching, they're not getting back-end bullpen support here. Spencer Strider's back on the mound today, which we're certainly going to handicap that game. What's up with his fastball? Guys used to be touching 98, 99 into the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th inning, barely able to get above 95 at this point here. But I do want to bring up another pitcher doing some damage here. How about Noah Cameron? I mean, the guy's been absolutely sensational so far. When you talk about the Royals looking for that added surge of younger talent, they're getting it in a couple different areas now, Tom.
Yeah, between him and Jack Caglione being called up, they need it because we just saw Reagans come back from the IL and he did not look good. And this is the second time he's dealt with an injury this season. So between Seth Lugo being okay, Bubic, who's good right now, we can certainly get into that a little bit later. But they need a young pitcher to step up, and Noah Cameron's been awesome. And again, it's a very tough division, but I think it was the right move to call him up and call up Jack Caglione. They have to make a push for the wild card. They're not going to win the division, but make a push for the wild card, and I think they'll have the pieces in place to do so.
Yeah, we got a couple series coming up here that are going to be very interesting in the next few weeks here as we sort of set the stage, getting closer and closer to not only the All-Star break, which is an important milestone in the Major League Baseball season, but also into the trade deadline, because with the added advantage now of having more wild cards there, which means more teams make the playoffs, that means teams are going to be less willing to sell some of those opponents. Some teams already out there probably making phone calls to see if we can set it up. We're going to talk Philadelphia Phillies. We're going to talk Atlanta Braves. We're going to talk the hot teams in Major League Baseball, the cold teams in Major League Baseball. And of course, the thing that you come to this Sunday show, Pro Baseball Today, for is what? We're going to handicap every single game on the card today. You want home run props? We got it. You want pitching props? We got it. You want sell me something segments on who you should be looking at today? We absolutely have that. It's Donnie Rightside. It's Tom Vecchio. It's Pro Baseball Today. It's the Sports Grid Network. And we'll be right back after this short commercial break.
It'll be interesting to see what the Knicks do, but the Knicks are at a point now where they don't have to blow it up. They may still do so, and they have a right to do so, but with trading the 4 first-round picks and the pick swap for Mikal Bridges, the Knicks don't have a lot of room in regards to actual picks to throw at people.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
No one is going to pick Indiana. No one's going to pick Indiana to make it close, honestly. Like, you could get tremendous odds if you pick OKC in 7.
I think that taking the series over 5.5 games, the last 2 NBA Finals series ended in 5. I think this one goes to the Thunder. We'll get the job done, but I think the Pacers are just too strong of a team and too talented of a team and too deep of a team to lose in 5 or fewer games.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
The Knicks really got past that playoff dragon for them that really stood in their way. So for the New York Knicks to be the Celtics and then an outright favorite to win the Eastern Conference Finals, that's where the disappointment is.
The goalposts got moved, right? Because when you went into the Celtics series, a lot of Knicks fans said they weren't going to beat it. I'll say this is more unprecedented than the 99 run when they were the 8th seed.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Face. It's the new face. New face of what? The hell are you talking about? Like seriously. Oh, the new face of the NBA, Anthony. Yeah, okay. You know what I mean? Like, really? Guy's got 2 shots. You're the face of the NBA. Slow down. He's a good player. I've always thought the whole face of the NBA thing was comical. You want him to be the face of the NBA because you don't like it that all the other faces in the NBA aren't American.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
Who's ready to go? Pro baseball today, Sunday morning, the only place to be. It's Donnie Right Side. It's Tom Vecchio, and we still want to get to some hot topics before we hit this entire card. We'll get you covered, everything you need to know. If we are looking at the Major League Baseball standings, we'd like to start in the American League here. Still on the top of the standings in the AL East is the New York Yankees here, Tom. 39-24 on the season, a 4.5-game lead over the Toronto Blue Jays, who have been playing some really good baseball as of late. Winners of 4 games in a row, 9 of their last 10 games. And also, how about those Tampa Bay Rays? Down in those hot, heated conditions, 7-3 in their last 10 games, followed by the Red Sox, and then, of course, the Baltimore Orioles, who also are playing better baseball. Let's start here. The Baltimore Orioles, we're on life support. You hear a heartbeat for them, Tom, at all, or nah, pull the plug?
I think we hear a heartbeat for their offense, if that makes sense. It's still not their pitching. Right. And their pitching has always been an issue. It was an issue coming into the season. They lost Corbin Burns. Grayson Rodriguez obviously hasn't pitched this season, wasn't been healthy, but their hitting was off to a really, really terrible start combined with the bad pitching. Now their hitting has turned it around. And if they could do something to shore up their pitching and Rodriguez comes back, they can make a shot for the wild card or one of the wild cards. That's the same thing I would say about the Blue Jays in the spot. I think we would agree they're not going to win the division, but if Scherzer could come back, and even if he's just somewhat of a shell of his former self, and they make a move, they could be in a spot to make a push for the wild card, not the division.
Yeah, take a look at the Central Division. It is the Tigers right now. Most wins in Major League Baseball with 42. A couple teams trying to close in on them, but they currently hold that mantle right now, followed by the Twins, the Guardians, the Royals, and the White Sox. A lot of teams in this division playing right around 500 baseball over the past 10 games or so, but a 7-game lead for the Tigers, and maybe they are the class of that AL Central, Tom.
Yeah, I think this division is somewhat the same, where we have this team at the top. We presume that they're going to win at this point. That's what the odds would suggest. There are a group of teams that all have their holes. We just talked about Shane Bieber with the Guardians. I would like to see him come back. That would put the Guardians in a spot to make a push. The Twins, I think they're still overperforming. As I said coming into the season, I wasn't very high on the Twins, but they certainly are playing much better as of late. Can they make a few moves to, again, shore up their lineup, shore up their rotation? Pablo Lopez just went down with an injury, so they do need more pitching help. Again, that would put him in a spot to make a push for the wild card, not the division, though.
How about maybe one of the worst divisions in baseball? You take a look at the West here, which the Astros are starting to wake up. Winners of 3 games in a row, 7 of their last 10. The lineup's starting to come around, waiting on Alvarez to get back there. And then you look at the other 4 teams. 3 of those teams with run differentials in the negative, and 1 team, which is the Rangers, at a 0. That's unheard of here. Mariners, Angels, Rangers, and Athletics here. And the Athletics, I guess, was once a fun story here to talk at the beginning of the season, certainly playing terrible baseball right now. But the Astros right now have awoken. Maybe they are the best team out in the West, because a rooting interest for me, Tom, always the Mariners. Hey, they're finally getting the hitting back, but now that's starting to slide. The Mariners lost 5 straight games. Maybe it just is the Astros again, the cream of the crop out there in the West.
It's looking like that. And when it comes to divisions overall, I know we're going to jump to the NL. There's only 2 divisions in my mind in baseball that are up for grabs, and this would be one of them. The AL West with the Astros and the Mariners, and we'll get to the NL in a second. But again, we can make a case for the Mariners. Logan Gilbert comes back. They kind of right the ship. They get things going. We can make a case for the Rangers. They shore up some things. A team that the Rangers, you and I were both very high on coming into the season. They make a shot for the wild card. But I do think it's going to be a 2-team race between the Astros and the Mariners, and that's really about it.
Yeah, it's a shame, man. That because the Astros, we'll see if they make any changes. Again, Alvarez coming back into that lineup. Isak Paredes finally starting to power the baseball. It's good to see, and Altuve waking up as well. Let's get to that National League, because it is intriguing here in the NL East, and the Mets are the best team in this division right now, far and away. It feels like a 3.5-game lead over the Philadelphia Phillies with 41 total wins, 7-3 in their last 10 games, winners of their last 2. And the teams that are dropping like a rock are the Philadelphia Phillies and the Atlanta Braves. The Phillies just can't get out of their own way, can't hit at the plate right now. Loses of 4 straight games, losing to teams like, I mean, come on now. You just can't be getting hammered by just average left-handed slop pitching like you're getting for the Pittsburgh Pirates. But then the Atlanta Braves, when it looks like they're going to win a baseball game, they blow it any which way they possibly can. It's like the Phillies are having a bad time right now, but still 37-27. The Braves look like they were on their way back and saying, you know what? We're going to factor into the NL East. And they've been dropping like a rock and just can't figure out what's wrong. Is it the starting pitching? Yeah. Is it the hitting? Absolutely. Is it the bullpen? You guessed it. Unbelievable for the Braves here.
Yeah, so this would be the other division that I would say is the only one that's up for grabs. And You could certainly say that the Mets are playing amazing right now. Good series versus the Rockies, not a surprise. Good series versus the Dodgers. I would say for the Phillies that things look worse than they are, just given the current streak that they're on, especially, getting blown out when they're up in Toronto, they're losing to the Pirates. But if you took these games and spread them out over the course of 2 weeks, you'd be like, okay, win one, lose one, win one, lose one. Like, it doesn't seem that bad. I think it's worse optically right now than it may actually be. And then compounded by losing Harper makes things seem worse. But these are the only two divisions that are up for grabs right now.
You love it, too. You get the Schwarber in the first inning. Like, okay, Phillies, here we go. They don't score again for the next 8 innings here, which included the top of the 7th inning. Alec Boehm leads off with a double. He gets a wild pitch to get him to third base. Strikeout, pop-up, strikeout, whatever it would be. Nobody scores here. And, of course, the bottom of that inning, you get a solo home run from the Pittsburgh Pirates. It is what it is. The Chicago Cubs, a fun team to bet on. PCA, he's going to be on my card today, so he probably should be on your card every single day. 40 wins for the Cubs, a 4-game lead in that division. And to me, the Cubs are the class of that division, Tom.
I mean, yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say the Cubs are the class of this division. Yep. We don't trust the Cardinals. The Brewers have too many issues when it comes to pitching. They also just don't have enough power. Again, the Reds are a fun team, and the Pirates are the Pirates. So it's wrapped up for the Cubs.
Yeah, it feels like it is. Out there in the NL West, the Los Angeles Dodgers lose 2 games in a row, and it doesn't get any better today. Oh, Clayton Kershaw's back on the mound to save it. He hasn't been pitching that well, and I do think there are going to be some runs going against him today. They're 38-27 on the season. In second place, San Diego Padres. In second place, tied with the Padres, the San Francisco Giants. Then we talked about the Diamondbacks, who I love them at the plate. I just don't love them anywhere else. Starting lineup here, pitching rotation, it's a tough one there. And then the Rockies, which picked up a couple wins, and then back to their losing ways here. This is going to be one to watch here for the rest of the summer here in the NL West.
The Dodgers come away with the win. The odds are never going to get better than this. Maybe they drop a little bit more to 500, but they're going to win the division. At some point, they get Glasnow and Snell back, and then, again, they don't have to be 100% themselves, but if they have and same with Kershaw, he's clearly not the pitcher he once was, but if they're all pitching at a good level, they'll obviously be in a spot to clean things up in the NL.
Heat and humidity, that's what we start to anticipate now in the month of June, and particularly down in Florida, which we have the Battle of Florida, the Marlins, outdoors against the Rays. Let's see if we get some home run shots today there. We'll be right back.
It'll be interesting to see what the Knicks do, but the Knicks are at a point now where they don't have to blow it up. They may still do so, and they have a right to do so, but with trading the 4 first-round picks and the pick swap for Mikal Bridges, the Knicks don't have a lot of room in regards to actual picks to throw at people.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
No one is going to pick Indiana. No one's going to pick Indiana to make it close, honestly. Like, you could get tremendous odds if you pick OKC in 7.
I think that taking the series over 5.5 games, the last 2 NBA Finals series ended in 5. I think this one goes 6. I think the Thunder will get the job done, but I think the Pacers are just too strong of a team and too talented of a team and too deep of a team to lose in 5 or fewer games.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
The Knicks really got past that playoff dragon for them that really stood in their way. So for the New York Knicks to be the Celtics and then an outright favorite to win the Eastern Conference Finals, that's where the disappointment is.
The goalposts got moved, right? Because when you went into the Celtics series, a lot of Knicks fans said they weren't going to beat it. I'll say this is more unprecedented than the 99 run when they were the 8th seed.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Face is the new face. New face of what? The hell are you talking about? Like seriously. Oh, the new face of the NBA, Anthony. Yeah, okay. You know what I mean? Like, really? Guy's got 2 shots. You're the face of the NBA. Slow down. He's a good player. I've always thought the whole face of the NBA thing was comical. You want him to be the face of the NBA because you don't like it that all the other faces of the NBA aren't American.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
No baseball today, Sunday morning. This is what you tuned in for. We're going to hit every single game on the card. We got one right out of the gates here. By the time we get off this show, Tom, within 10 minutes, we have a Major League Baseball game that will be just getting started. That's Miami and it's Tampa Bay. Rotational number 975, 976, 12:10 start. As we said, I'm going to get to the pitching matchup in just a few moments here. But you take a look, right? And the most times you're saying, Tampa Bay in the past, the Trop, man, tough hitting conditions here. That's not the case. Tom, day-to-day basis like today, 90 degrees during this game, 11-mile-an-hour winds blowing out to dead center field. So before we get into the pitching matchups, do you just look at this and say to yourself, it could be like a Coors East effect, and even though if the pitchers are good or not good, you just take the overs because that atmosphere in that ballpark just lends itself to that?
I think that's the case specifically with this game, Marlins Rays, and we could paint some broad strokes across things, but I don't have a whole lot of faith in the Marlins offense. And yes, they put up a ton of runs yesterday. The Rays are far more consistent. So if you don't have faith in an offense or teams overall, we're like, listen, the hitting weather is unbelievable. We just got to trust the over today and move on. I think that's a very easy way to go about it if you don't want to dig into Marlins hitters to look for player props. But when we're dealing with this type of weather, you just got to roll with the over. Keep it really simple. Get a nice win under your belt to start the day at a 12-10 start and move on from there.
Now, here's the interesting part about this game as we handicap it. Veziano is going to open here for the Marlins, not to be confused with the Verrazano Bridge, which Tom absolutely loves here up here in the Northeast, going up against Tampa Bay and Rasmussen. Did you see this total, Tom? It actually opened up at FanDuel at 9.5. It's down to 8.5. And we just told you that it's going to be 90 degrees during this game, heat, humidity, and double-digit winds blowing out, and that line is dropped here to an 8.5. Like, I understand, like, Rasmussen's having a good season. We'll get into those statistics in just a few moments, but 8.5 as a number with these two, like, you're not getting Chris Sale in his prime going up against Randy Johnson in his prime.
Yeah.
It almost seems like you just take the 8.5 regardless of the handicap.
It really does. And this is where I think the point of resistance was met. It's like, listen, Rasmussen, as you said, having a good season. Oh, it's the Marlins. How many runs are they going to score? They scored, 11 runs yesterday. They're not going to score that again. They'll score 3 runs today, and the Rays will pour in, 4 or 5 of themselves. And then, we're dealing with a 5-3 final, which is pretty close. So I can understand people buying into that. But again, the weather is so beneficial for hitting today that even if Rasmussen only gives up 2 runs, they get 2 runs out of the bullpen. If the Rays score their own 4 or 5, this game will get to 10.
And take a look at this, too, because Drew Rasmussen, maybe not a household name here, but 28 innings pitched, Tom, over the past 30 days. How about an 0.96 ERA and a sparkling 2.87 xFIP number? So he does, over the past 30 days, warrant that. You take a look at his ISO against in his last 100 batters. That's an 0.95. A weighted on base percentage, a 195, which is absolutely incredible. But on the other side, you do have an opener that's coming in, and then Gillespie coming in after him, who through the first half of the Major League Baseball season for him, he got smoked. Gets sent down to the minors, got smoked in a couple starts down there, and he's getting brought back up in this game. So the pitching matchup here is interesting, but the lineup, again, 8.5. It just feels like I need to go over in this game, Tom. It just feels like that.
It really does. And looking at Gillespie, some of his numbers, a 237 ISO allowed to lefties this year, 3.07 home runs per 9. He's got a 47% fly ball rate and a 40% hard contact rate allowed to lefties. Are you kidding me? In this spot, Caminaro's a righty, but Brandon Lau, Aranda, both with ISOs over 200 as lefty hitters in this spot. We can even look to Curtis Mead, ISO over 200. This sets up for offense. It's going to come 75% of it from the Rays. I love it.
Yeah, take a look, too, by the way, because Rasmussen is a right-handed pitcher, and we've told you he's been sensational specifically over the past 30 days. If you look at the lineup, though, for the Marlins coming in their last month here, only one guy, and that's Connor Norby, has a high strikeout rate, Tom, of 23.5%. Everybody else, 14s, 19s, 10s, 12s, 15s, 0, 9. So if the ball is in play again, 90-degree temperatures and the wind blowing out, that is going to help. But it's hard to say, there's going to be regression from a guy with an ERA of under 1 and an xFIP under 2.5. But yes, sometimes it's just a matter of, man, I gave up a fly ball that was supposed to go 275 feet. It went 300 feet today because it was absolutely going to be wind blowing out and hot, heavy conditions down there. Edwards, Sanchez, Lopez, Hicks, and Norby all with high weighted on base percentages here for those Marlins, Tom. So I'm just looking at saying, maybe we get a step back today, but I just think it's interesting that you see the 9.5s on the board, and then they dip down to 8.5s here. First game up on deck at noon on a Sunday.
Right. The Marlins don't have power, but like you said, they don't necessarily strike out a ton, and they put the ball in play. So we just need traffic on the bases and then some power on the Rays side of things. Easy 8.5 in my mind.
And by the way, the thing that slipped out too as well, a minus 240, people. This isn't a pick-em game. We're treating Rasmussen like it's the end of story. Easy victory today. We'll see what happens there. Much more Major League Baseball on the way next. Padres!
It'll be interesting to see what the Knicks do, but the Knicks are at a point now where they don't have to blow it up. They may still do so, and they have a right to do so, but with trading the 4 first-round picks and the pick swap for Mikal Bridges, the Knicks don't have a lot of room in regards to actual picks to throw at people.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
No one is going to pick Indiana. No one's going to pick Indiana to make it close, honestly. Like, you can't really, you could get tremendous odds if you pick OKC in 7.
I think that taking the series over 5.5 games, the last 2 NBA Finals series ended in 5. I think this one goes 6. I think the Thunder will get the job done, but I think the Pacers are just too strong of a team and too talented of a team and too deep of a team to lose in 5 or fewer games.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
The Knicks really got past that playoff dragon for them that really stood in their way. So for the New York Knicks to be the Celtics and then an outright favorite to win the Eastern Conference Finals, that's where the disappointment is.
The goalposts got moved, right? Because when you went into the Celtics series, a lot of Knicks fans said they weren't going to beat it. This, I'll say this is more unprecedented than the 99 run when they were the 8th seed.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Face is the new face. New face of what? The hell are you talking about? Like seriously. Oh, the new face of the NBA, Anthony. Yeah, okay. You know what I mean? Like, really? Guy's got 2 shots. You're face of the NBA. Slow down. He's a good player. I've always thought the whole face of the NBA thing was comical. You want him to be the face of the NBA because you don't like it that all the other faces of the NBA aren't American.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
76 degrees in Milwaukee today. Now, we know they do have a dome with some rain in the forecast later in the day. We'll see if that gets open, because anytime you can let some heat and humidity into any ballpark, it's usually a very good sign. But let's get started on the handicap. And this is a 105 start, 951, 952 on the rotation. That is the San Diego Padres taking on the Milwaukee Brewers. Burgett will be on the mound here for the Padres. Only has 5 innings pitched here on the season. You take a look at Peralta, obviously a veteran pitcher in his case. But how about this? We weren't sure where the pitcher was going to be, so overnight, it was basically a pick-em, Tom. Minus 115s, minus 120s. Now it's Peralta on the mound, and that line goes from 115s all the way up to as high as 165 at some outlets. The total of this game opened up at 8.5. Pitching change that we thought might not be there, might be there. It actually has dropped that number to 8 across the board. Let's start there. Padres taking on the Milwaukee Brewers.
Yeah, this is an interesting spot despite the line movement. You know, we're dealing with essentially an unknown quantity with Ryan Burgett for the Padres. Again, this is his first year in the majors, has no sample size that we can realistically draw from. Seeing 5-6 innings, whatever it is, like, is completely irrelevant when it's all said and done. So we can look at that as a complete question mark. It comes down to 2 things. Do you trust Freddie Peralta, or do you trust the Padres lineup? Because if the Padres lineup is going to come through and hit, well, then we could certainly look to them maybe on the money line or team total. I have far more interest in the Brewers lineup. It's not Freddie Peralta. It's not the Padres lineup. It's actually the Brewers lineup. And not to say I don't like a Gavin Sheets potentially from the Padres, but man, since the beginning of May for the Brewers, Christian Yelich, 272 ISO, Jake Bauers, 214, Hoskins, only 163. We do see some strikeouts in this lineup. That's the issue. But Sal Frelick gets on base. Caleb Durbin can get on base. Contreras, a little bit inconsistent, but I like the dynamic of the lineup overall in terms of the power, the on base. You get some strikeouts here or there, whatever it might be. But I think aside with the Brewers lineup out of any factor in this game.
Yeah, take a look at Freddie Peralta, by the way. His last month here of pitching, it hasn't been all that great. He's had 5 starts, 25 2/3 innings pitched, a 4.21 ERA, and that xFIP number of 4.58. He's been very good, though, however, Tom, against left-handers over the past month and also the season itself. If you look in the season, it's 164 lefties he's faced. How about an 0.92 ISO and a weighted on-base percentage of 283? Then you flip it over to the last 30 days, 74 batters he's faced from the left side, an 0.65 ISO and a weighted on-base percentage of 266. However, over the past month, Tom, a little bit leaky to right-handed batters. 44 that he's faced. How about a 308 ISO and a weighted on-base percentage of 466 and a K rate of only 16%. If you look at the lineup, though, however, Manny Machado's done very well against right-handed pitching. The rest of that lineup, power-wise, not that great. Now, Gavin Sheets, as a lefty, he's been great over the past month here going up against right-handed pitching. But then you have that Freddie's been good against lefties. Does that actually weigh out? So if I had to go with one batter today from that Padres lineup for me, it would be Manny Machado.
Yeah, Manny Machado, the issue with Fernando Tatis is seemingly every time I bet on Fernando Tatis, he goes 0 for 4. He's swinging and missing. He looks disinterested at the plate. But really, over the past month versus righties, like a 165 ISO doesn't have me like – it's not jumping off the page at me. Obviously, a rise is never going to bring us power, but that's fine. But seeing a rise with a 2.9% strikeout rate is hilariously low. Just get on base for me. Give me the HRR with the rise, Machado, and Sheets. I think is the best way to go about it. Like if you want 3 hitters from the Padres, we're not sure if Sheets comes through versus Peralta, but we just need a run, hit, or an RBI for those 3. And I think those would be the option I go to. And then Jackson Merrill in there before Tatis.
Yeah, take a look at some of those lineups. Again, just saying, Sheets makes a little bit of sense. Manny Machado, obviously my favorite batter there. Jake Cronenworth's had a pretty good month here going up against right-handed pitching, but just not a lot of love overall here as we take a look at it. And again, your point brought up there with Ryan Berger. He could be a good pitcher. He could be a bad pitcher. It's hard because in Major League Baseball, it's not so much that we don't really know what the pitchers to expect. It's the batters, right? They want to see him 2 or 3 times around and say, okay, got an idea for what his fastball is moving, curveball that he has, slider that he likes to throw. But if you're just looking at the 35 batters that he's faced on this season, right-handed batters have gotten much better than the lefties overall. But the key ingredient here, through those 35 batters, Tom, a K rate, only 11% into lefties, which Christian Yelich is, only 8.3% on the season. If you're not striking guys out, and Yelich with a 284 ISO and a 402 weighted on-base percentage, maybe that's where you go. And also, as I pointed out, would like to see if the roof is open or not, because if it's open, just adds a little bit more intrigue in there to let some of that humidity into that ballpark.
Yeah, I would say it's pretty simple on both sides. Like, we have players that strike out on both sides, but if you simply just want to go Yelich, Jackson Chourio, and Bryce Schering, totally fine. Keep it simple with the Padres, as I said, Arise, Machado, Merrill, Sheets, and you're probably going to be in a pretty good spot.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I didn't love that game overall. There's much more games out there that we can certainly tap into. Next game up, 1:35 p.m. Eastern. That's 9:77, 9:78 on the rotation. It's Texas, and it's Washington. It's the Rangers versus the Nationals. Latz, the lefty, again. Not too much here on this season for Latz at the left-handed pitcher. Trevor Williams, we know him, has been around the block. Your average pitcher of Major League Baseball. Opened up at 8.5 as a total. Most outlets at 8.5. Some starting to shift over to some 9s here. The favorite on the board overnight was Texas, around that -140 price. Most outlets have dipped back just a little bit, Tom. -135s and -130s here. So a little bit more action coming into Washington at home going against Latz and the Rangers.
Yeah, so there's a lot of rain potential in this game. So that's first and foremost. If you're betting on it, understand that there could be a delay prior to the game. That's as far as I'm seeing. I think the Rangers lineup has been pretty terrible over the past few weeks. Like, this is not an offense. It was an offense that I wanted to buy into coming into the season, but they really haven't done so. So if I had to pick from this game, I would choose the Nationals money line. This is not to say I don't like any Rangers hitters today, which I certainly do. When it comes to Latz, the pitcher, he doesn't have a big sample size this year, but if we look back to last year, a 20.8% strikeout rate, a 14% walk rate is absolutely terrible. He had a 520 xFIP, not something that we're worried about. Fly balls up at 45%, only 33% hard contact rate. But on the other side, for Trevor Williams, pitcher that I've never been super fond of across the league, he doesn't strike out hitters. 17% strikeout rate. His walks are lower this year at 6.1%. But when it comes to the BABIP and just letting balls in play, I think that this is the spot to attack specifically versus lefties And Josh Smith is at the top of my list for the Rangers today coming in. He's not going to have a ton of power, but when we look to him overall, 307 WOBA since the beginning of May. The strikeouts are down at 13.3% and 5.8% walk rate. So put the ball in play, get on base, grab me a hit.
Yeah, because here's the problem. Because, again, that lineup should be so much better for the Texas Rangers. If I'm looking at just, the last 30 days against right-handed pitching, ISO, and also weighted on base percentages, where I'd pick out of that lineup, it's Marcus Semien. I know he had a little bit of power pop yesterday as well. 206 ISO and a 362 weighted on base percentage in that lineup. If we remove him from the equation, everybody is below the barometer of going up against right-handed pitching here for the past month, which is crazy. And as you pointed out, Trevor Williams, he doesn't do anything special, and he doesn't strike you out. So what he does, if he's not giving up walks, that means he's throwing it down the middle going, hey, you know what? I just hope you don't hit it hard somewhere. And if you do, hopefully it goes right to somebody. Trevor Williams on the last 30 days here, Tom, 24 in the third innings pitched. How about an ERA of 6.29? Now, it does dip lower on that xFIP number of 4.37, but not one of those pitchers that you're like, hey, you know what? I got to avoid at this point. It's just a shame that more players on the Rangers don't light up the screen today because it'd be a great spot to take them. And also, as you pointed out as well, there is some weather conditions that you probably would want to worry about as well. But on the other side, any Washington bats, because to me, yesterday I had an RBI, I think it was Friday, Ahmad Rosario with an RBI prop. He's been doing very well, specifically against lefties and righties over the past month. James Wood cracks lefties, cracks righties. He's been great. But again, on that side of it, Tom, I'm not finding a lot to love from the Nationals lineup here, going up against a guy that we don't know too much about either.
Right. I would say, I'm looking at since May 1st, Rosario's up at a 417 ISO versus lefties, which leads the team. Yeah. Wood is at 216. Alex Call is really interesting. 7.4% strike rate. Are you kidding me? With a 407 WOBA since May 1st. Get on base, give me a hit, power the ball deep when someone's already on base. You pick up in an RBI. So Rosario, Wood, Call, Abrams, I think would be the combo I'd go to from the Nets.
Yeah, it should be an interesting one, too, because it's a fun lineup to pick out. It's just like, you know what, I just wish I had a little bit more on Lats at this point to go ahead with it. But again, warmer weather, muggier conditions. It was muggy as all get out here on the East Coast yesterday. Maybe that stays today. But we are going to move it over here in the next segment and start to talk about my Philadelphia Phillies and the struggles they have. But don't you fear, man, they're going to get out of it today. They're going up against Paul Skeens. So instead of looking at the team totals, maybe look at the strikeout totals for the Philadelphia Phillies. Harper's not there. Who's going to help the Philadelphia Phillies? But also, more importantly, is anybody even going to get any base hits for the Pittsburgh Pirates? Could we play 18 innings in Pittsburgh and not get a single run? We're going to handicap that game next.
It'll be interesting to see what the Knicks do, but the Knicks are at a point now where they don't have to blow it up. They may still do so, and they have a right to do so, but with trading the 4 first-round picks and the pick swap for Mikal Bridges, the Knicks don't have a lot of room in regards to actual picks to throw at people.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
No one is going to pick Indiana. No one's going to pick Indiana to make it close, honestly. Like, you could get tremendous odds if you pick OKC in 7.
I think that taking the series over 5.5 games, the last 2 NBA Finals series ended in 5. I think this one goes 6. I think the Thunder will get the job done, but I think the Pacers are just too strong of a team and too talented of a team and too deep of a team to lose in 5 or fewer games.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
The Knicks really got past that playoff dragon for them that really stood in their way. So for the New York Knicks to be the Celtics and then an outright favorite to win the Eastern Conference Finals, that's where the disappointment is.
The goalpost got moved, right? Because when you went into the Celtics series, a lot of Knicks fans said they weren't going to beat it. I'll say this is more unprecedented than the 99 run when they were the 8th seed.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Face is the new face. New face of what? The hell are you talking about? Like seriously. Oh, the new face of the NBA, Anthony. Yeah, okay. You know what I mean? Like, really? Guy's got 2 shots. You're the face of the NBA. Slow down. He's a good player. I've always thought the whole face of the NBA thing was comical. You want him to be the face. of the NBA because you don't like it that all the other faces in the NBA aren't American.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
When a team's not playing good baseball, we'll give it a little bit more nightmare fuel by sending one of the best young pitchers on the mound against them to see if they can cure their ails. Who are we talking about? It's the Philadelphia Phillies and the Pittsburgh Pirates today. From Pittsburgh, 1:35 start. Pittsburgh looking to go for the sweep against the Philadelphia Phillies. 9:53, 9:54 on the rotation. Sanchez, the lefty, going up against Paul Skeens. Favorite in this game, how about this? It's a pick'em across the board. 7, Tom, as the total, down to 6.5 at just about every outlet today. Before we get to the matchup here, let's talk about weather, though. Warmer conditions, yes. Heavy rain is in the forecast, which always sets off bells when you are betting a game based on a starting pitcher of the ilk of Paul Skeens, or even Sanchez is a solid guy. The last thing you want, Tom, is let's get 2 innings in and a 45-minute rain delay. Paul Skeens isn't coming out after that rain delay. How do you approach this game knowing that you could have downpours throughout the game?
If you want to be fun and you are banking on the rain, you would just take unders on pitching props. And we could check what they are quickly because I didn't look at this game for pitching props just because of the rain, but Skeens is listed at 6.5. That's a lot to get. So again, they get 2 innings in, 45-minute hour rain delay. Paul Skeens is not coming back. Most pitchers don't come back out. It's not just Paul Skeens, but most pitchers don't come back out. So you could be getting a free under if the game is delayed for an hour and he just doesn't come back out. And he's the pitcher on record, or not the pitcher on record, but he starts the game, so he has action, so you can take unders. It's either do that or simply stay away. You don't want to mess with it.
No, I hear you on that because, again, when you're betting, and sometimes it's even worse. So it's like, hey, this pitcher's going to kill this other team here, minus 225, minus 240. And by the third inning, it's a toss-up because the bullpens are in. At least you know what the fact is. Like, okay, Skeens is going out there. The Phillies are struggling. Maybe you can buy it on the back end. And if you do lose the game, Tom, minus 110, minus 115, worst case scenario, it's not all that bad. But Paul Skeens here on the season, tremendous. Last 30 days, tremendous here. You take a look at his last 130 batters that he's faced. How about an 0.66 ISO and a 204 weighted on base percentage, Tom, and a K rate of 30% and a walk rate of around 5%. The Phillies lineup here doesn't look all that great as is. And as we started to talk about at the top of the show, Bryce Harper down on the IL, not even there to help them out. Flip it over to the other side, and you have Sanchez, who over the last 30 days hasn't been bad, Tom. 127 ISO against and a 313 weighted on base percentage and a K rate of around 24%. You see that total at 6.5. You see these pitchers on the mound against the lineups they're going up against. I mean, heck, yesterday we had a 2-1 game here where the final run was scored in the bottom of the ninth inning in the bottom of the seventh inning, I believe. It was a solo home run. And that's all you got in that game. One sure bomb out of the Phillies. How do you play a 6.5 in this game as well?
Combined with the weather, I'd be interested in the under 6.5. I think that's the spot to go. There's nothing forever on the Pirates. We've talked about this. Outside of that explosion that they had against Arizona a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, whenever it was, they've just never been an offense that we have been able to trust consistently. And we've talked about, can we scratch together 2 or 3 runs for them to get them over 1.5, which you've talked about at times to take it all for them and throw them into a parlay. We've never been able to get that. Combine that with the weather against Sanchez, who is a good pitcher. He's not a Paul Skeens level pitcher. We understand that. Yeah. But again, the story for the Pirates is that when Paul Skeens is out there, he's looking like Jacob deGrom, where they're getting him no run support. Paul deGrom Skeens is what we should start calling him at this point. So no runs in this game. Combined with the weather, it's unders or stay away.
Now, here's the interesting part, too. Let's just say the rains are there because usually that affects both pitchers and batters alike. Batters don't like to hit in the rain, and pitchers certainly can't get a great grip on the baseball, so that throws things into whack. But if you look at the lineup today that we're anticipating here for the Pittsburgh Pirates, there is a lot of strikeouts in that lineup, particularly, Tom, in the last 30 days against left-handed pitching. O'Neal Cruz, 53%. McCutchen, 23%. Brian Reynolds, 35%. Now, Gonzalez only 4 at-bats, but still struck out twice out of those 4 at-bats, which equates to 50%. Canario, 30%. Henry Davis, 44%. Triolo, 39%. It's not a great lineup here. So even if let's just say you get both starting pitchers knocked out, doesn't even matter at that point. It just feels like you're destined for an under because nobody can hit anybody here.
It really does seem that way. Like, you don't want to lay, like you said, we're not laying juice here because it is essentially a pick-em. But I would not touch this game if it was minus 200 on one side. I wouldn't go to the pitching props. This game is a washout, no pun intended, with the rain.
No, it certainly is. But there you go. Phillies and the Pittsburgh Pirates say the battle of the Keystone State and looking for a sweep on the Pirates. Disastrous if the Phillies take another loss here. But the Paul Skeens, it is what it is at that point here. Let's go 1:40 p.m. Eastern today, 9:55, 9:56 on the rotation. Arizona going to take on Cincinnati. Zach Gallen going up against Brady Singer. Hey now, no 6.5s here, Tom. 9.5s across the board as a total. And a line overnight with Zach Gallen was hovering at FanDuel at least at around a minus 135 price. We're at around a pick 'em here. Singer versus Gallen. We got to get some runs today.
Oh, we certainly do. The Great American Small Park out in Cincinnati, as we like to call it, this is where we should be seeing plenty of production. As for the weather, 70s, a little bit of wind blowing out, which is great to see. Zach Gallen isn't the same pitcher that he once was. He was never a super dominant strikeout pitcher, but he was very strong, up at 26, 27%. The strikeout rate has regressed this year. It's down to 21.9%. His walk rate is up to 10.3%. Those are very, very concerning signs overall when we see him giving up a 39% fly ball rate. On the other side for Brady Singer, he's always kind of been a middle of the rotation pitcher, but the strikeout rate is even lower this year at 19.6%. The walks are even higher at 9.6%. The BABIP is at 279. It's only 1.13 home runs per nine. So when we're looking at the lineups overall, and we have Will Benson, who is crushing righties right now. Ellie De La Cruz is back. TJ Friedel, we can look to him. Tyler Stevenson has gotten some real power going over the past week or so. When we flip to the Diamondback side of things, a lineup that we love overall. Marte, Carroll, Eugenio Suarez facing his former team. Gab Moreno, Lourdes Gurriel, all with ISOs at 193 or higher. It's offense today in this matchup.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. You take a look at Brady Singer on the card today. I have 28 pitchers ranked, Tom, over the past month. I have at least 5 innings pitched here over that past month. Brady Singer, 24 innings pitched, a 6.29 ERA, and a 5.27 xFIP number. He's 26th out of 28 pitchers today. That certainly bodes well for the bats here. And then if we go up and take a look at Zach Gallen, who is that pedigree pitcher you expect to step up, still hasn't been the case yet this year. His last 30 days, Tom, 5 starts, 28 1/3 innings pitched. His ERA, 6.35. xFIP number is lower at 4.44. But when you are looking at that lineup for the Arizona Diamondbacks, Carroll, Marte, Naylor, Suarez, and Gurriel over the past 30 days against right-handed pitching, they have been spectacular. And some of the things that we always look to as well, forget about isolated on-base percentage. How about the walk rate? High. How about the strikeout rates? Low here. We should have balls in play, which means good things happen, as Tom says, in that small little ballpark in Cincinnati. I like that game. I love Ketel Marte. You'll see him on my card a little bit later in the show. More baseball on the way. More Baseball Today radio on the
It'll be interesting to see what the Knicks do, but the Knicks are at a point now where they don't have to blow it up. They may still do so, and they have a right to do so, but with trading the 4 first-round picks and the pick swap for Mikal Bridges, the Knicks don't have a lot of room in regards to actual picks to throw at people.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
No one is going to pick Indiana. No one's going to pick Indiana to make it close, honestly. Like, you can't really, you could get tremendous odds if you pick OKC in 7.
I think that taking the series over 5.5 games, the last 2 NBA Finals series ended in 5. I think this one goes 6. I think the Thunder will get the job done, but I think the Pacers are just too strong of a team and too talented of a team and too deep of a team to lose in 5 or fewer games.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
The Knicks really got past that playoff dragon for them that really stood in their way. So for the New York Knicks to be the Celtics and then an outright favorite to win the Eastern Conference Finals, that's where the disappointment is.
The goalposts got moved, right? Because when you went into the Celtics series, a lot of Knicks fans said they weren't going to beat it. This, I'll say this is more unprecedented than the 99 run when they were the 8th seed.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Face. It's the new face. New face of what? The hell are you talking about? Like seriously. Oh, the new face of the NBA, Anthony. Yeah, okay. You know what I mean? Like, really? Guy's got 2 shots. You're the face of the NBA. Slow down. He's a good player. I've always thought the whole face of the NBA thing was comical. You want him to be the face. of the NBA because you don't like it that all the other faces of the NBA aren't American.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
Key thing on a Sunday here. Look, sometimes you do get interesting lineups on a Sunday Major League Baseball, maybe an off day for a couple players here. You like to wait till the starting lineups come out. We get that. But you know what's even harder, Tom? Some pitchers that don't have an extensive background either this year or in Major League Baseball. We get that from time to time. Let's take a look today. A 140 start from Detroit. It's Horton and Flaherty. The Cubs running out Horton here, the right-handed pitcher. Flaherty also a right-handed pitcher for the Tigers. 979, 980 on the rotation. This line actually opened up as high as a minus 150 price on Detroit, backtracking to around a pick 'em at most outlets today. A total of 8 at the opening number, still sitting at 8. How about that? Some action coming in for the Chicago Cubs today on the road against those Tigers.
Yeah, so I'm seeing a little bit of rain in the forecast, at least early in this game. And like you said, Cade, we don't like that. These are two great offenses. No. And Cade Horton on the mound for the Cubs, like you said, a smaller sample size, only 25.2 innings. 17% strikeout rate, 4.6% walk rate is certainly great, but 35% fly ball rate is not ideal when we have a very strong lineup on the Tigers side of things. Wenzel Perez is back, 379 ISO since the beginning of May. Since he's been back, it's only been 32 plate appearances. Riley Green, Kerry Carpenter, Colt Keith, all with ISOs over 200, and Spencer Torkelson. I do like the Cubs today. I have to say, I do like the Cubs. For as good as a pitcher as Jack Flaherty is, getting plus money on the Cubs is certainly very enticing to me. And Flaherty, 28.8% strikeout rate is absolutely awesome. But he has a 1.52 home runs per 9, a 45% fly ball rate. And when we get plus money with a scorching hot Cubs lineup, since beginning of May, PCA 411 ISO versus righties. Crazy. Michael Busch 288, Suzuki 255, Matt Shaw 214, even Swanson's up at 198. So when we have a great lineup and plus money, I'm kind of willing to trust that, even though Jack Flaherty's great.
And you look at the lineups, too, like Detroit over the past month here, just the right-handed pitching as a whole. 7 of the 9 batters anticipated in the lineup today, all elevated weighted on base percentages. You love to absolutely see that. Then you go over to the Chicago Cubs and say, well, how have they been doing against right-handed pitching over the past month? Absolutely spectacular as well. 7 out of the 9 batters with high weighted on base percentages and ISO power numbers. And you're right, like Pete Crow Armstrong. 74 at-bats over the past month against right-handed pitching, a 412 ISO, and a 500 weighted on-base percentage. And something that you do like to see here because, we appreciate like Juan Soto. And Tom will tell you, he's looking for base hits. A guy with a walk rate of only 5% and is crushing the baseball like that, he's up there to swing the bat, not just get on base and pad some of those weighted on base percentage statistics here. So I love PCA. I love Michael Busch in this lineup today. I do think we get some runs, but I centered around PCA on a couple bets, which again, at the end of the show, you'll certainly be able to find that out. If we keep it moving today, Houston and Cleveland. Walter versus Bybee on the mound, 965, 966 on the rotation, a 140 start today, a minus 135 to minus 140 is actually getting higher now, Tom. We're in the mid-150s now as a favorite towards the home team with Bybee on the mound for the Guardians. And a total that opened up at 7.5 now still sits at 7.5. Astros, Guardians today, Tom.
Yeah, I'm willing to buy into some of the movement towards the Guardians. And I've said this before, sometimes I just buy into certain things or certain scenarios. Home teams or good home teams not getting swept, right? So I'm not buying into the Rockies today. Home team not going to get swept by the Mets. But listen, the Guardians, they may not be amazing, but they're a good enough team to not get swept. Now, when we look to Brandon Walter for the Astros, he has 5 innings pitched this year. He didn't pitch last year. We have to go all the way back to 2023 when he's with the Boston Red Sox to get a sample size of only 23 innings. So this is his only time in the majors. We're looking at a very, very modest 15.1% strikeout rate back in 2023, 6.6% walk rate, 1.17 home runs per 9. So when we're looking at the Guardians lineup, the power has been sapped from them. Wasn't a big power hitting lineup to begin with. Since May 1st versus lefties, there is not one hitter that has an ISO over not 200, but 150. J-Ram, Jose Ramirez has an ISO at 147 since May 1st versus lefties. He doesn't strike out, but he still gets on base. Between him, Stephen Kwan, I think we can look there, maybe a Carlos Santana, and then Tanner Bybee on their side, a pitcher that I've been high on for the majority of the season. His strikeouts haven't been there. I think we'll see some runs in this game, but I still think the Guardians come away with the win and win at a certain point. Paredes, Diaz, you could look to them, maybe even a Christian Walker, but Guardians win today.
Yeah, they better do something at the plate here, because against lefties, and again, this is a team that has so many different chances to attack left-handed pitching, switch hitters, or even if it is a right-handed pitcher, they have so many lefties they can throw in that lineup. But over the past 30 days, it is just J-Ram with that 172 ISO power number. Everybody else, like Quan, 037, Martinez, 143, Fry, 0, Santana, 048, Arias, 071, Jokenski Noel, 0, Nunez, 0, as being the catcher today, as we possibly could anticipate. It's a tough lineup here to go after, so I agree with you, but also on the opposite side, Jeremy Pena, 413, weighted on base percentage against right-handed pitching. Isaac Paredes, finally the guy they thought they were getting over from Tampa Bay. Hey, baseball, we're just getting started.